And just like that, we get set to say goodbye to July. Wow, it goes so quick, huh? Welcome to it. Anwar Knight reporting for duty. So good to have your company today. Welcome to episode 21 of Here and There, my digital live stream show that we do each and every Friday at 1 o'clock, exploring community and green spaces. So nice to have your company today. We are streaming live at the Riverwood Conservancy in Mississauga. This is a 150-acre nature preserve with a purpose, is what I call it. It's run by a volunteer and member-based charity, and they celebrate the environment, nature, horticulture, and it's all about inclusivity. This is about providing a connection to nature for everybody. And I'm going to highlight some of the features here in some of the gardens. We've got a real cool show coming up. Lots of people joining us already. We have Julie, Ingborg, Helen, Barb, Michelle, Susan, Sandy, Cindy, Morago joining us already. Thank you so much. Happy Friday. Coming up on the program today, we're going to highlight, of course, the long weekend forecast. I hate to say it, but a hint of autumn. I know. You should see Vern's face in that. What, fall? Honestly, it's going to feel like that in some areas, but you know what? It is what it is. So we'll break down all those details for you. Plus, have you ever been tooling around in the garden, you know, and the shovel hits something and you go, oh, what is this? And maybe it's an old pop can or maybe an old brick, you know, from some development maybe 20, 30 years ago. Well, I'm going to share a very cool find that some workers dug up while making a well in a backyard. That's coming up on the program. You don't want to miss that. And also, do you know what today is? Officially, it's International Friendship Day. Yes! And this dates back in over 60 years ago. And it started with a campaign by a charity group, and the whole idea was to foster a culture of peace through friendship, right? And then the United Nations officially declared it back in 2011. And I think friendship has been more important now than ever, right, during COVID. Although until recently we haven't been able to physically connect in person, whether it's through email, whether it's through FaceTime or Zoom or the old-fashioned phone call. Very, very important. So it gets me to the AKQ, the Anwar Knight query today, as we pass by some of these perennial hibiscus. Look at the size of these. Look at this. Is that not the most beautiful thing? My goodness, you know, if you are a pollinator, the Mandarin buffet right here, all you can eat, okay? No reservations required, beautiful stuff. But the AKQ, the Anwar Knight query today, is what's one of the nicest things that a friend did for you? And if you want, you can also do maybe a quick shout out to a friend, someone who's really special to you. I don't want to make it a whole show on just that, but I'd like to know something special that a friend has done for you. I would have to think back probably a decade ago. I have a very dear friend of mine, and he gave me, I describe it as a hope crystal. And the significance of it is that he gave this to me when I was first diagnosed with cancer. And if you trailed a few years before that, he went through a massive stroke. And he clung onto this hope crystal as sort of a sense of strength. And he went through therapy and rehabilitation, but he wanted to pass that to me because it helped him. And he says, you know, he was blessed, you know, because when he had a stroke, I mean, he couldn't speak. He also, it impacted how he walked. But he is doing amazing now. He's a remarkable human being. Patrick, I'm talking about you. And he passed that to me. He says, I just hope that some of that goodness, that energy, that hope that he got from it will go to me through my journey. So I thought that was very cool, and I have it to this day. So those are the kind of things I'm looking for. And it could be also just something frivolous if you want. Whatever it is, as long as it made you happy. And that's, I think, what friendship is all about. Now, you know, friendship turned lovers, I think, here at this spot. Many, you know, wedding parties get their photos done here because it's such a beautiful blend of manicured gardens and also just wild nature. And it's hard to see from here, But the Credit River is just to my south, and we're actually pretty high here on this area of land. You'd have to take a trail down, and I'd say maybe a 10-minute walk, and then you get a beautiful trail, kissing the Credit River. But what's interesting is that there's a lot of history here. Geologically, this goes back hundreds of millions of years. In fact, they have found fossils here dating back 400 million years. So it's amazing, what you find when you dig, and that's why I wanted to share something with you. You may have heard about the story, I'm not sure, but there was a work crew in Sri Lanka, and they were digging for a well in a backyard of a guy's home, and they were digging down, and the shovel hit something, and they're like, what is that? They dug some more. So take a look at this picture, because what they ended up unearthing, they thought it was a big boulder, but in fact, and if you look at this photo, it is the world's largest sapphire cluster. I mean, this thing, if you look at the photo, it's over 1,000 pounds, and it has been named the Serendipity Sapphire, and it is a pale blue in color. Now, I've put on the image here, you see sort of the boulder, and then what that sapphire crystal would look like. That's not actually from it, because they have to start processing it and that sort of thing. But, the estimates, the experts say this is probably worth $100 million. And all this from digging for a well, right? I don't know what are the ownership in terms of, is it finders keepers? Do the guys go, yeah, I think we're done doing the well. We're done for quite a while. And this was in Ratnapura, which means city of gems. In fact, is the gem capital of Sri Lanka. A lot of sapphires come from there. But I think what's really interesting, and it's a very rare variety of sapphire. The common, although it's rare, a common is when you look at the rays on that sort of star-like optical phenomenon. 6 are pretty common, but you can get up to 12. So it really is a unique gem. So I just thought that was very cool, and what a neat find, right? What a neat find indeed. So let's get to the history of the park here. This is such a beautiful spot, and somebody thought it was beautiful as well. And that person, was Percy Parker. He was a Toronto lawyer, very well-to-do. He was also a mining executive. He sought out this spot. Now, this is going back, early 1900s, 1913. And he said, Ida, that was his wife, Ida, I think we got our cottage spot. So he bought some of the land. Originally, it was 200 acres. He got 150. And he built a cottage. Now, the original owner, because there were a few owners, it was actually a very simple home, but he used that footprint to build his cottage. And that's the cottage. So what's really cool is that on the bottom, the basement of the cottage, it was a concrete mix, and in the floor embedded are some horseshoes. And it is believed they were from some of his award-winning horseshoes. His award, that's going to happen. It happens on TV. It's going to happen on a live stream, as long as he didn't swear. Right? Oh, man. But back to the basement. So it is believed that those horseshoes were Percy's award-winning horses that he kept over here. And that is in this barn. So this barn over here is in fact from the 1850s. Where it was built, it sat, and it's still there to this day. And what's interesting is that the outer, of course, new barn board has been put on it because they wanted to, preserve it. But as you go on the inside, I've got a real treat for you, because it is actually some of the original timbers. But we're going to say hello to some of you. Cindy says, in some challenging times, a good friend gifted me a 2009 Nissan Versa. Thanks, Ali and Zara. Well, isn't that nice? Faye is joining us, Jeanette and Janice. So these are some of the gardens. We're going to tell this story coming up in a mere moment, but this is now known as the Mcewen Barn. So all the different features here, the homes or the structures, they have officially been named according to some of the ownership through history. But take a look inside this barn. And they still use this to this day for some of the programming, school groups, some of the special programs they do, even for adults. In fact, they were doing earlier one about bees. So, if you look in here, and the lighting is not the best, but these are the original, timber frames here. I mean, these date back to the 1850s. Is that not just amazing? I was just floored by it. And again, if you come here to the Riverwood Conservancy, you can come for a tour, and when the doors are open, you can walk in and you can sort of ask some of the experts. And again, many of them are volunteers. But is that not beautiful? I just thought it was so striking, and I love the fact that it dates back to the 1850s. Kathy says, so nice to see you. It's been a while. I always enjoy your show. Have a great long weekend. It's good to hear from you, Kathy. Thank you for that. Kevin is joining us from Burlington. Sandra is joining us. Barbara says, wow, that's incredible. That's what we try to do. This show is 500 thread count, Barbara. We aim high. We want to wow you. That's the goal. That's what we're trying to do. So also, Jeanette is joining us. Zainer is joining us. Marag, my friend Lois, has been there for me for 35 years. Always there for me to talk to when I was going through a difficult time. Thank you, Lois. Well, thank you for sharing that, Marag. And Janice is very graceful, peaceful area. It really is. And this is one of my favorite spots. I take the kids here, and the beauty is that you can get your fix, if you will, of the beautiful colors with the gardens, but then you can walk down to the Credit River along the trail, and you can see also there's a lot of photographers that come here. And we've seen some already this morning. Some of the lenses, if size matters, some of them, they're leading, I mean, I kid you not, it's like a half a meter. It's quite something. So I believe I just hang on one second. Sorry, can I just ask you a question? Are you getting an insect? Is that what you're trying to get? Or just the flower?
Try to get some kind of the bees.
The bees.
Butterflies and flowers everywhere.
Beautiful. So he's trying to get some of the pollinators. Sorry, we're just streaming live. Thank you. We'll let you do your thing there. Alan is joining us, also Susan Gibbons. And Don says, I love this place. Kathy is joining us. Bev Bell, hi from Port Hope. And you made it for the live version of the show. Thank you, Bev. We appreciate you joining us. And Gail loves the story. Well, it's going to get better, Gail. I'm going to show you that in just a moment. Also, Cheryl is joining us, as well as Haley from Brampton. And okay, Laura says not only 500 thread count, put it up to 1,000. I guess that's Egyptian cotton. Liking it. This is great. So, you know, what's interesting is that when Percy Parker lived here and he had the cottage, he had the barn, I mean, obviously he had a lot of the nature around, but he was in a very elite circle, right? I mean, they were all high rollers. He was very successful. And he said, you know, I think we can make this our mainstay. So while we build an actual home, and of course we're talking about a home that he could use for entertaining. Now, it is also on this property, but it's about maybe 10 minutes this way, a little too far to go there. However, Ricardo, our videographer extraordinaire, he actually shot some very cool videography of the home. So I want to roll that now and show it to you, because this is really a home, a very impressive home, and it is in the shape of a U. And what happened is that some of the stone on the exterior is Credit Valley stone, and that is actually from the area. But what's really neat about this, again, he had a very social elite circle. So we'll just back up so this lady can walk by. I'll stay over here, Ricardo. And so look at this beautiful home, and it's known as the Chappelle House. It was a grand estate, and not only influential merchants, but politicians, including our country's 10th Prime Minister, Mackenzie King, frequented inside some of the parties here. On the exterior of the property, although you can't see it now, there's a pool, and the remnants, you can just see some of the asphalt of a tennis court. And it is believed that Pierre Elliott Trudeau actually played tennis on that tennis court. So very cool. And then you get a real good perspective. And I wanted to point out is that you can tour the grounds. For the most part, it's office inside, although they do the odd programming on the inside. You know, sometimes they do some school groups that go in there. But just really neat that you can actually, you know, walk around the grounds and get a sort of sense, because it is very grand. And then what happened, sadly, during the stock market crash of 1929, Percy died, and his wife had a very difficult time to try to, you know, pay for the bills. So she started selling it off in basically 3 different parcels, and that's how you got different owners. Eventually, the city of Mississauga obtained all the parcels, and then what happened now, it's sort of rejoined. So it's a partnership with the city of Mississauga as well, the CVC, and now it's really just for everybody to enjoy. As I mentioned, the Riverwood Conservancy works very hard to really make it a destination for everybody. So I'm going to show you the enabling garden and the sensory path in just a moment, because this is so amazing when we talk about inclusivity. But first, I want to get to the forecast, and we're going to start off by letting you know that the weather is brought to you by the Big Blue Marble podcast. We invite you to listen to the undeniable stories of our changing planet and the amazing people that are trying to save it. And I just uploaded a brand new episode, by the way, episode 26, and we were focusing on the killer heat wave in Western Canada. Simon Donner joined us. He's a climate scientist at UBC, and it's just really interesting to get his perspective that we are in the climate emergency. So if you want to check that out, www.bigbluemarble.earth or on your favorite podcast players. Back to where we are streaming live from, that's the Riverwood Conservancy, and there's a couple of major things I wanted to point out. This, for starters, it's what's called the enabling garden. So you can see that the flower beds are raised up. So this is about immersive horticultural therapy. So it's fully accessible. It's designed for people of all ages with physical, cognitive, or mental health challenges. Maybe they're in a wheelchair or a walker. So they can come right up to this without twisting, and they can be a part of doing some planting, getting their fingers dirty, and sensory too, right? You have so many things at the level that's easy to touch and to experience. And here we got a bee, a bumblebee right there. You see? And this is what makes it so special, is that, shh, don't disturb. Vern is yelling at me now, so we'll let the bee do his thing. So, you know, whoever you are, with your family, you can come. There's tactile elements, there's native herbs and flowers, vegetables, dwarf evergreens. So it gives participants a real opportunity to experience it. And this is so important. You know, it's so well documented. I look now, we have some color here, and again, some different textures. You know, so this nurtures social skills, self-esteem, hand and eye coordination. And it also diminishes isolation, especially if you're physically not able to walk freely. If you're in a chair, or if you're in a walker, you need assistance. Now you can really get out and experience the beauty of nature, of plants, of wildlife. I mean, it's really quite something. So this is one area that I just absolutely love. It's such a fantastic idea. You see they have umbrellas. So this comes out to keep the sun off you on a real hot day. And I should point out, some of these flowers here are grown by seeds by some of the volunteers and the special gardeners. So it really is a passion project, just beautiful stuff. We're going to continue on, and while we're doing that, Gail says, love the story. Also, Cheryl says, hello, Barb is watching, and I'm going to scroll down here. Oh, Judy says, I remember your voice from when you first joined the Weather Network. Been watching since. Well, now we're both old. That's all I have to. Not as old as you, Vern, just for the record. Oh, boy. Is it Dina, and Edna is joining us, as well as Lois. Narita is saying hello. And Giselle says, another place that I've not heard of. Yeah, great, Ricardo. Let's show our friends all the colors here of these gardens. And you open up parts of Southern Ontario to many of us. Well, I appreciate that, Giselle, and that's sort of the goal. There's so many wonderful spots that we need to take advantage of. So that's what it's all about. Pat says we'll have to visit here. Amy is also watching us. Jeanette. And Ron, Barb says, I've noticed that one doesn't see many old barns around the countryside. Excuse me. I started taking pictures of them years ago. You know, it's interesting because that's another industry where some people will actually take the old barn board because for some farmers, especially if they sort of done and they're not passing it on to their family, they'll say, oh, you can tear down the barn because it costs a lot of money and work to tear it down. So some of these guys will come in, they take it down, and then they sell it to city folk, you know, for hundreds of dollars because you want it in the home. So we are streaming live, if you're just joining us, here at the Riverwood Conservancy in Mississauga. And now I'm taking you to what's called the sensory path. And this is a magical spot, because this is now another place if you are visually impaired to connect with nature. So you'll see there's some QR codes. There's also Braille on some of the signage. So what happens is that when you come, you can use the guide rope to guide you along, and as you walk along, there will be some markers along the rope, and that sort of signifies sort of a learning opportunity, because you can also download a free app, a voice app, and it'll tell you things sort of that you're experiencing. Now, because of COVID, of course, things had to change for now, but this gives you an example. Normally, there's all these little boxes. So there's a white-tailed deer antler, a bear skull, turtle shell, coyote skull, a moose hoof. This would be where you'd put your hands in. And whether somebody is explaining it to you or you're using the voice app, but it's a chance, again, visually impaired, to feel something and connect what it is. Again, because of COVID right now, it's not available. But is that not just amazing? It's about opening up an experience for everybody. So you would continue along your journey here. And, you know, it's nicely designed, so it's not too long, because you can hold the rope and you can gain information. And it's got some nice wood chips on the bottom. But there's another section here, which I thought was just fascinating. You know, the excitement, I related to my kids about seeing footprints, you know, in the snow or in the dirt. And you try to figure out what is it, and you sort of compare it. Maybe you look online. Here's the native plant garden. So again, there's a QR code, and it'll sort of talk, and you can sort of touch and feel, and maybe in some cases, you know, get the smell. But along here, we have also the animal tracks. And this is really neat. So the animal tracks, what they've done is taken actual animals and made molds, and they've made imprints here. So imagine, you know, even for somebody who is sighted, to be able to touch and to feel the size of a black bear, a white-tailed deer, the coyote, a porcupine. Isn't that cool? I would have thought that was a raccoon. But again, so it goes from large to small, everything to a weasel. Not you, Vern. You know, sometimes people are going to say I'm so mean to you. I love that guy. True friend. But the black squirrel, look how tiny that is. So this could be the very first time for some people that they are actually to connect an image by touching it and visualizing, you know, when you hear about a squirrel and you describe, oh, that's his feet. So I thought it was very cool. They also have the jigsaw puzzle of some of the leaves. So it's not necessarily about fitting it where it goes, but it's about feeling it, the size of it and the shape of it. Really, really powerful stuff. And I love this one too. It's the barks, you know, and I get my kids to do this all the time too. When you go out, not just visual, but also feeling and smelling and feeling the textures of the various barks. This is an eastern white cedar, a sugar maple. And of course, over time, as people touch it, some of the bark is falling off and they'll replace it. But really amazing stuff here. So this is called the sensory path, and it is just a really unique opportunity, not only for those who may be, impaired visually, but just come in as a family. It's just something else that you can say, connect the dots here. And you can see some of the artwork, some of the school programs, and the kids have done it as well. So really cool stuff. As we connect back with you, Alan says we learn so much history every week. And Lee says, love your videos, especially here and there. Thank you. I appreciate that, Lee. Can I do a jumping jack? Well, I can, but not a very good one because I've injured my arm, so it won't be very... Why am I doing this? I don't know. But because you said so, Don Boulder is joining us from Streetsville. Angelica, I hope I pronounced this right, Quep is joining us. Also Ruth, and Janet says, I hope BC gets rain. No kidding. You know, it has been a very long time. Not only rain, but they just need a cooling trend because there's so many impacts. You know, it's estimated 1 billion sea creatures died with that epic heat wave. And that has, you know, a domino effect. You know, nature's trying to balance things out. And again, we talk about that on the podcast that I just released. So I want to take you in here because this is the Dawn Redwood Circle. And Laura says, what a beautiful spot. Morag says, hope the rain holds off while the Jays play for the first home game in Toronto. Yeah, it should be good. In fact, this is the first time the Dome has opened up, Morag, in about 2 years. So I think a lot of people are excited about that without question. And also, John says, great spot. The Credit River area is so beautiful. And, you know, it's one of the longest rivers in the province. It really, there's so many different avenues to explore, starting in Orangeville and ending out into the lake. So there's so many different communities that you can do. So I'm going to have a seat right here. And, so Haley says, can I do a jumping jack? Okay, this is for Haley, one of our very special viewers. Ready? This is for you. That is a jumping jack, right?
That is.
Yeah, okay. That's it. Did you want to see my tummy? That's it. I'm done for the day. Is there lunch? Oh, man. Oh, that's very nice. Laura just also posted the link for our podcast platform on Big Blue Marbles, so I appreciate that. And Barbara says, thanks so much for introducing us to a wonderful place. Really nice place to walk, and Janet says she's enjoying it. And I'm amazed how this place has adapted its displays to allow everyone to experience nature in their own way, regardless, sorry, it just moved away, of their abilities. So that was from Giselle. And that's what I love about it. You know, it really is a special place. There are so many beautiful parks, but this really allows everybody to enjoy it. Now, I wanted to point out, actually, they are looking for volunteers, and you don't have to have garden experience. There's so many different aspects if you wanted to volunteer here, whether you wanted to do some gardening or if you wanted to help with some of the programs. That is open, and they do 2 shifts, 9 to 12 and 1 to 4 Monday to Friday. They also do a 9 to 12 session on Saturday. If you're interested in that, especially for students who need the community hours, just go online, the riverwoodconservancy.org, and I will post this as well when we put it up on YouTube, and we'll put it in the notes for today's show. But it may be something you want to do. Maybe you have some extra time and you want to give back to the community. I also wanted to point out that they are doing a number of other things, including yoga sessions here. They do it in the park, and they do a lot of different, we talked about some of the bees. So there's so many different events that are happening, and they are now, you know, allowing it in terms of stage 3 because of COVID. So they will still do social distancing and that sort of thing, but it's open. So that's something you may want to check out. So we're going to get set to wrap up. I'll just let you know that the trail system here is about 3.5 kilometers. It's called the Riverwood Conservancy, and it's located Burnenthorpe and Creditview in Mississauga. Just give you a roundabout. But this is someplace that you really may want to check out because it's just an amazing spot for the entire family. So very quickly, I'll do a couple more comments. Giselle says this place is a real outdoor classroom. And Catherine says, what an incredibly beautiful, accessible place. Thanks much for showcasing this wonderful place that I've never been to. And Cindy says, thanks so much. I watch on YouTube the show again. Just love these shows and all that we learn from you. Lois says, thank you. So very interesting and informative. Lois is watching us from Blindheim. Blindheim? Am I saying that right? I think I am. So listen, on that note, Carm, thank you. Cheryl, thank you. Narita, Gabrielle, Peter, and Kathleen. We want to thank you all for watching us. Again, we do this every Friday. Now I ask you for your support. Remember, we donate our time until we get some sponsors. Please show the appreciation with the parade of hearts, and also like and share the post so other people can join us on this little adventure that we do every week. And if you're watching the replay on YouTube, like and subscribe. We're always open to your feedback, your comments, and your questions. We'll try to get back to you as soon as we can. On that note, my friends, I want to say thank you for joining me. I wish you a very happy and safe weekend, and hope to have your company again on our next show. Where will I be? Well, as the saying goes, here and there. Take care, my friends. See you later.